it's funny with all the distractions in the American political process right now. I guess people are paying less attention to what's going on in the Middle East. And it makes you wonder, for someone like Barack Obama in his position who could start a war to get the rally around the leader effect right before the campaign, is he going to be more likely to just keep this in his back pocket and say, like, well, we can always serve the military-industrial complex in my second term, or is he going to start something before the election? So I saw this headline today on the Drudge Report, huge top headline, Ahmadinejad, Israel will soon be destroyed. Really? And I had to click on it, right? Really. Now, for all of the bullshit fear-mongering that we get from the mainstream media about Israel is about to be wiped off the map and Iran is about to come and eat your children, then I see stuff like this and I'm like, even then, this is a little bit stark. This is a little bit direct. And I had to, I had to go and I clicked on the link. I had to look into this. According to the AFP by Mohammed Davari, tumor of Israel will soon be destroyed, Ahmadinejad. Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad told an annual anti-Israel protest in Tehran on Friday that the Jewish state was a cancerous tumor that will soon be excised, drawing a strong U.S. rebuke. Now, here's the fucked up part. Just that sentence alone, if that had stood, you'd be like, okay, well, then I guess he said it, right? And you would hope that a mainstream news organization like this would have a little more credibility or would care about just consistency within their stories. But 2 or 3 paragraphs down here is the actual sentence from Ahmadinejad. The Zionist regime and the Zionists are a cancerous tumor. Not Israel. The nations of the region will soon finish off the super Zionists in the Palestinian land. That's the people that are outside of Israel in the Palestine. And I don't know, maybe Ahmadinejad is saying all of Israel is the Palestinian land. Okay, maybe. A new Middle East will be definitely formed with the grace of God and the help of the nations. In the new Middle East, there will be no trace of the Americans and the Zionists. Well, certainly there should be no trace of Americans in the Middle East. The idea that Americans, as our government, involved in foreign policy there is obviously just another part of the government scam here. But Zionists, not Jews, not Israelis. Like, and I'm just like, really? How stupid do you have to be to buy this bullshit propaganda? Like, I'm not going to defend Ahmadinejad. He's a fucking nut job, all right? Don't get me wrong here. But if he's the dangerous nut job that the American mainstream media and government would like to make him out to be, is this really the best crazy quote you can even take out of context from him to make him look like he's about to kill everybody? Really? This is the best you can do? It's fucking embarrassing. You should go kill yourselves. U.S. National Security Council spokesman Tommy Vietor told AFP that if Iran was as concerned about human rights as Ahmadinejad said in a speech in support of the Palestinians, then it should stop supporting Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. And he's right here. Yes, but it's the pot calling the kettle black. It's just more bullshit government hypocrisy. Ahmadinejad's diatribe against Israel in his Quds, that's Jerusalem Day address, was the latest in a long line to have drawn criticism from Western governments. The diatribe took place amid heightened tensions between Israel and Iran over Tehran's controversial nuclear program. Now, the idea of having nukes is ridiculous, and this idea that it's the government legitimately defending itself, it makes sense, and I certainly understand. And I don't want to say, like, because I believe that the United States federal government should not do something to violently stop Iran from getting a nuclear weapon that, our government has hundreds, thousands of sitting around in stockpiles. But I also don't like the idea of a nuclear Iran. I don't like the idea of a nuclear America. Nuclear power is fine, sure. Well, not completely fine, but no, you get my point, right? It's not about this government is good and this government is bad, because at any given time they do things to each other with their citizens that they oppress and manipulate people to serve the interests of those in power. So they're all full of shit here. But at least we as Americans and as people who care about peace can do our best to spread this counter narrative and tell people the same way that you would tell a crazed gunman, hey, put down the guns, step away from the weapons, put down the... In the same way, I want to say to the people of Iran as well as the people of America and to the rest of the world, put down the government. Just put down the government and step away from the tyranny. Step away from the application of government force to control and manipulate others. Step away from statism. Step away from this madness whereby we're all kept frightened by the specter of World War fucking III because we fall for bullshit propaganda like this. And that's why they do it. And you know, maybe I'm being too pessimistic. Maybe everybody who hears this will share it, and everybody will wake up, and eventually all the troops will get the message, and no war will be possible. The Jewish state has in recent weeks intensified its threats to possibly bomb Iran's nuclear facilities to prevent it having the capability to produce atomic weapons. Iran, which is suffering under severe Western sanctions, denies its nuclear program is anything but peaceful. Its military has warned it will destroy Israel if it attacks. Sanctions are an act of war. If I go up to you and say, hey, guess what? If anybody here around you trades with you, I'm going to shoot them, and I'm forcibly isolating you from doing trade with people that would otherwise do trade with you, that's an act of aggression. And in the case of nations, it is an act of war. If anything, Iran has showed incredible restraint in the face of harassment from the rest of the world, and from, I shouldn't even say the rest of the world. That's really giving the government way too much credit, but from at least the United States. According to Foreign Ministry spokesman Ramin Menanparas, who was quoted by the ISNA news agency, the Israelis, know very well they don't have the ability to successfully attack Iran. If they make a mistake, our nation's reaction will lead to the end of the Zionist regime. More blustery bullshit from someone in government. Big surprise. State television showed crowds marching under blazing sunshine in Tehran and other Iranian cities to mark Quds Day, an annual commemoration launched by the founder of the Islamic Republic, the late Ayatollah Ruhollah Khomeini, just after the 1979 revolution that brought him to power. Demonstrators held up Palestinian flags and pictures of Khomeini's successor as Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, and banners reading "Death to Israel" and "Death to America." The head of Iran's powerful Revolutionary Guards, General Mohammad al-Jafari, told the Fars news agency as he attended the Tehran rally that the Iranian nation has always been at the forefront of regional anti-Israel resistance and showing its animosity with Israel. He added that Iran intended to maintain that virulent stance. And again, this is where the language of statism fails us. Iran intends to maintain, and to a certain extent, yes, this is possible because of the sentiment of the people in Iran, but it's really perverted by government. It's not Iran, it's the government of Iran. The same way it's not America, it's the government of America. And unless you could figure out how to separate these things, I mean, the idea that our government is the same as the people that are collectively victimized by it by virtue of living within its borders is an absurdity. And those who can get you to believe absurdities can make you commit atrocities. If Iranian, according to U.S. National Security Council spokesman Vider, the entire international community should condemn this hateful and divisive rhetoric. If Iranian officials are truly concerned about protecting the rights and dignity of all human beings, then Iran should stop supporting Assad's brutal assault on the Syrian people. I totally agree. Ahmadinejad's past broadsides against the Jewish state and his denial that the Holocaust occurred have earned him opprobrium from Western and other nations and walkouts during his addresses to the UN General Assembly. Israel has been employing its own invective against Iran and its leaders, invoking the image of Hitler and the Nazis on the eve of World War II and accusing Tehran of being bent on Israeli genocide. Well, if you stop to listen to the actual words, you might see otherwise. But this detente that is developing is just, I don't even know how to stop this. How do we come together as a people and as a species and say to the governments of Israel, America, and Iran, knock this shit off? Because they're all in on this. There are people on all sides that benefit from this stuff, and it's bullshit. It's absolute bullshit.